And let's move on now to my New England Patriots in our 7-round mock draft series. But if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and smash that bell notification so you can get notified whenever Tyler and I create new content. We are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. So if you guys have not, or if you guys could help us reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated. So Tyler, let's get into it so I stop fumbling over my words. Patriots, we had them do the quintessential Bill Belichick draft, and we ended up having them trade back from 14 to pick 18 with the Detroit Lions. And in that trade, the Patriots received pick 18 and pick 56, while they gave away pick 14 and pick 118 in round 4. So, with that being said, who did the Patriots take at the 18th overall pick?
So when we did this 7-round mock draft, it was Sunday, March 12th, right before the free agency started, and we had them trading back and taking Jackson Smith-Njigba. I like the player, and I think he would be a good fit for the team. However, Ryan, since then, we talked about this before, you have some reservations now about this pick just because of who they just signed, actually, in free agency.
So I still like Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is my wide receiver 1 on the board. However, with his limited top speed, he is projected mostly as a high-end slot receiver in the NFL. And Juju Smith-Schuster, the wide receiver that they just signed, kind of is that exact thing. He's a high-end slot receiver in the NFL, and that's where he's found most of his success. And I just think drafting Jackson Smith-Njigba here would be a little redundant. So I think if we were to go back and do this again, looking at some of the guys that were on the board at this point, Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnson were also still on the board. I think either of those receivers would give this offense a different look than what Juju Smith-Schuster brings. Also, Deonte Banks was still on the board, the cornerback from Maryland. And Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia, is also another guy that I think would be a really versatile piece that Bill Belichick would love to use. So I think they would probably fall in that direction rather than taking a Jackson Smith-Njigba. And that Juju Smith-Schuster signing does give them more versatility here in the first round. It doesn't pin them into the situation that they were in last year where they had to take a guard. So
even at like pick 14, where they kind of could go a lot of different directions, feels like they're still now at pick 18 can go a lot of different directions. And they have a much more improved pick over what 118 was. So it's a benefit. But I can absolutely see the Patriots trading back. I can see them going maybe with JSN still, but as you said, they can go Nolan Smith. I can also maybe see Osiris Torrance as well. They have addressed the offensive line a lot in the offseason. Re-signing James Ferentz. They also got Calvin Anderson and Riley Reif as well on that offensive line. So very interesting on where the Patriots go, because this is definitely that point in the draft where it's going to be a huge butterfly effect on who gets taken. And anyone, I really think, is kind of on the board here at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so after pick 18, we're going to move on to pick 47 here, where the Patriots draft offensive tackle Darnell Wright. One thing to note before I break down this pick, the mock draft tool that we did use counted all of the forfeited picks. So if the picks are off by 1 or 2, that is why. So at pick 47, we had the Patriots take Darnell Wright, a right tackle from Tennessee. He is phenomenal. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 330 pounds. I think him next to Michael Onwenu on this Patriots offensive line would be blowing defenses off the ball. And I really love his physicality. He had a really good game against Will Anderson in Alabama. And I think this is a solid pick. I think it's very unlikely that he actually makes it to this spot. He fell in our draft, but however, after going through, and especially after free agency, there are a couple of teams ahead of the Patriots that I think would be more than happy to draft him in the mid to late 30s than him being taken here in the late 40s. So,
well, another one, I love the pick, but even then, after the signings of Riley Reif and then also, I just said his name, Calvin Anderson, do you think this pick might be a little bit redundant?
No, because Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson are much more of depth pieces. The contracts they signed were not very big.
Okay.
And Calvin Anderson has some athleticism, and Riley Reif is surely a floor pick. He just is going to set that offensive line up to make sure it doesn't get so bad that this offense completely collapses, kind of like what it did last year. So yeah, that's what those signings were for. I still think they need to invest into this line, especially at the tackle position where they're really kind of weaker. I don't think it's unlikely that they still look at going left tackle in the first round if one of those 3, 4, if Anton Harrison really suits their fancy. So yeah. And then next up in the second round at pick 56, the extra pick that they got in the trade with the Detroit Lions is Keanu Benton, the defensive lineman from Wisconsin, Senior Bowl guy, had a phenomenal senior season and really showed out at the Senior Bowl. His pro comparison is Chris Jones, the defensive tackle from Kansas City, and I love him. He is so physical. He's 6'4", 315. I think him and Christian Barmore together is just a run-stuffing, quarterback sacking duo that haunts the NFL for 4 or 5 years to come. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, as you said, if your comparison is Chris Jones, that's not a bad thing. So, yeah, he's the type of guy. Who was the Oklahoma guy that you guys drafted? I think it was a year or two ago.
Ronnie Perkins?
I think so. Yeah,
he was an edge rusher, but
no, there's a big defensive tackle. But he reminds me of that. This seems like such a Patriots pick. A big defensive lineman that is going to stuff the middle of the field, and it's going to be tough for offenses to game plan around him. And I think he's going to add a lot of depth to that defensive line.
Yeah. And with that defensive line aging, I think it would be really good to bring in a younger guy who can hopefully contribute early. So next up, the last big need, I think, of the Patriots' big 3 needs, which was wide receiver, tackle, and then cornerback. At pick 77, we have them taking Darius Rush, the cornerback from South Carolina, another Senior Bowl guy, but 6'2", I think 200, and he ran in like a 4.38 at the combine. So he has really good athleticism, really good length. But technically, I think he's a really solid guy. He brings a lot of size to the secondary, whose tallest corner was 6 foot, and in Jack Jones last season, who was also 175 pounds. So bringing in a 6'2", 200-pound corner who also can move, especially getting him here in the third round, you have a little bit of development to do, but the Patriots have shown in the past that they can develop cornerbacks to be really solid. So I like this pick here at 77. I think of all the needs, this one comes last. Even after the Juju Smith-Schuster signing, I'm still trying to take a wide receiver before I draft a corner, unless there's just not a guy there. So,
yeah, I can see that based off the corner needs that you're looking at. If you feel like the receivers are not there in that first round, but like if there's a bunch like Joey Porter falls, Deontay Banks falls, or maybe if you really like Keely Ringo or Cam Smith or Emmanuel Forbes, and those guys fall maybe in the second round, then I think that maybe you could take a corner there. But I think still this is a deep cornerback class, and getting him at this spot right here is perfect. I think great value.
No, yeah. And so moving on now to day 3, pick 108. I have the Patriots taking Zach Harrison, the edge rusher from Ohio State. To me, a Trey Flowers, Dietrich Weiss Jr. type edge rusher. He's going to be 6'6", 265, 270 pounds. He has elite length. And I just really like what Bill Belichick is able to do with guys like this, because I think he turns them into just very versatile defensive players. And I think this defense is kind of clamoring for a guy like that who can not only stop the run, but then also run after Josh Allen and chase him down on the sideline. And I think Zach Harrison has the athletic ability to do that. And then moving on to their second and final 4th round pick, because they traded pick 118. At pick 136, I have the Patriots taking wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton here. This one, so with the Jackson Smith and Jigba trade, or with the Jackson Smith and Jigba pick not necessarily working out, I still like Bryce Ford Wheaton as a prospect. I think getting him here at 136 is good because he's athletically 6'4", 220, and ran a 4.36, which is that's like 94th percentile athleticism, according to the NFL website. And I just think that's something really nice to have on the outside to make, just even if you just throw 2 jump balls to him a game, and it just keeps the safety off further away from the line of scrimmage, clearing it out for Juju Smith-Schuster. However, if they decide to go that Quentin Johnson route in the first round instead of Jackson Smith and Jigba, then that's when I believe this pick kind of becomes redundant because you don't need two of those guys.
Yeah.
So at least not in the same draft. So I might do that pick a little bit differently. But then Patriots have 4 more picks. So we're going to kind of rapid fire through those, and then I'll get your thoughts. Payne Durham, the tight end from Purdue at pick 186. I like this one. He's a very versatile tight end. He can line up in line in the slot. He had also another good Senior Bowl guy. And then here come the Shrine Bowl guys, as New England was coaching one of the teams in the Shrine Bowl, actually, as well as your Atlanta Falcons. So, Brenton Cox Jr., the edge rusher from Florida, more of an outside linebacker, but I think he's that big edge-setting outside linebacker that New England really loves. And then this one is kind of a joke, but punter Michael Turk, the Patriots released Jake Bailey, who recently signed with the Miami Dolphins, and they need a punter, and Michael Turk is the best one in this class. And then Javarius Owens, another player they got to work with at the Shrine Bowl, who's a safety from Houston. I really like him. He's more of a box safety, and I think he fits more in that Kyle Duggar role, but at this point, he's most likely going to be a special teamer and not really a true defense contributor. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so this is a very Patriots-esque draft. A couple of maybe skill position players. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba might honestly be like the outlier in that. But other than that, interior defensive line, like kind of what makes a great football team are the guys that don't really – the positions that don't particularly light up the stat sheet or you see the highlights on, but you just get a lot of really good value. Like even the Zach Harrison pick at 108, we have – and several of our other mock draft videos, people say like, hey, in the mid rounds, I want my team to be looking for Zach Harrison. And like, hey, he was gone by then. It's
exactly.
Like a lot of people want this guy. And so I that right there, that Keanu Benton, as I mentioned already, is like it feels like a Patriots pick, a Patriots player. And so in general, I think it's a good draft. If you had this draft come like draft weekend, I think the entire organization and fan base would be happy.
Oh yeah. And to me, I think this fan base has been clamoring for some big moves. And I think going out at 18, even if you get a Quentin Johnson who has a lot of the red flags of the ex receivers that are busts come the season, I think that would at least get this fan base jazzed up for the 2023 season. And I like this draft. I think it's a good balance between what the Patriots traditionally do and then adding some true skill position players that the fans really want to see. So I think that's going to wrap up the New England Patriots mock draft here. Again, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and smash that bell notification so you can get notified whenever we create new content.